All right, on Tuesday, I gave you the first half of my top 10 list of the best films of 2020. Top 10 list here. Number 6 was Mank. Number 7 was Tenet. Number 8, Borat's subsequent movie film. Number 9, The Life Ahead. And number 10 was a tie between The Prom and On the Rocks. Today, I will give you the top 5 films, as I see it, of 2020. These are movies all released in 2020. I saw many others, but those are going to be released in this crazy kind of Oscar qualifying year in January and February. They're going to have to wait till next year for me. I'm keeping it all in this year as much as we want to see it go. Here is number 5, George Clooney's The Midnight Sky. And if ever a movie turned out to be very timely during this pandemic, it is about this movie, about the need for human connectiveness, and beautifully staged here by its director, by its producer, and by its star, George Clooney, who has made one of his most urgent films yet, an urgent plea to the planet Earth to save yourself. Save yourself. Don't screw it up. This is a movie that shows how we can totally screw it up and lose everything. Or it shows how brilliant we are and we can go and explore outer space and all these new frontiers. We have to make those decisions ourselves. But here is a story of a man alone at the edge of the world, practically in the Arctic, desperately trying to reach the space shuttle that has been up there for 2 years, and now a group of astronauts that want to come home, come back to their planet Earth finally, and he's trying to tell them that there isn't anything to come back to. Ultimately, it registers a sense of hope, though. Even though this sounds very nihilistic, it isn't, not in George Clooney's hands, because this source material is about what we can do to keep humanity going, to keep ourselves alive in one way or another. There is a glimmer of hope at the end of this movie. It also represents one of the best performances I've ever seen George Clooney do. He's really terrific in this film, aging himself up, looking much older on screen than he ever has, a character dying of cancer or some sort of disease, but still having enough life in him to try to make a difference in the world around him. And that is what The Midnight Sky is. And it takes place there at the Arctic, in outer space. A masterful feat of filmmaking. That is number 5. Number 4, Minari. Minari, which some people might say Minari, since that looks like what it's spelled in English, but it is the story of a Korean-American family looking for the American dream, basically. Following now Parasite, which won the Best Picture Oscar and the Palme d'Or at Cannes all last year, the first Korean film ever to do. That was also the story of a Korean family, but in South Korea. This one is set in Arkansas, and the father, played by Stephen Yeun, he just has a dream of being a farmer, farming his own land, the salt of the earth, as it were, and convinces his family, who don't want to leave California, nevertheless takes them with him to try to start this new life in Arkansas. And it's not easy, but it is about those trials and tribulations, staying together as a family and trying to fulfill your own dreams. It is a beautiful film from Lee Isaac-Chung, and he is a great director, and he's written a beautiful script here. Minari is a film that will make you laugh in some ways, cry in others, but it will make everybody, I think, see a little bit of themselves in it. That is number 4. Number 3, wow. What an incredible film debut this is for Emerald Fennell, who is an actress, but also now a writer and director with her first feature film, Promising Young Woman. It stars Carey Mulligan as Cassie. She's someone just celebrating her 30th birthday, lives with her parents, basically had a horrible experience in life with a good friend of hers in high school who was the victim of sexual assault, has never let that get out of her head, and has sought retribution for it ever since in one way or another. Very unusual ways, as we see in this clever psychological suspense thriller that is also very much a black comedy with a terrific cast and full of twists and turns as you watch what happens when she seeks revenge for this in so many different ways. It says so much about the relationships between men and women in this era and that era, and is not to be missed. And what an extraordinary directorial debut here. This talent, Emerald Fennell, is one who's here to stay, no question about it. That's number 3. Number 2, News of the World. Now, there have been a lot of great Westerns, but now they come few and far between. It used to be that there were several Westerns a year, not now. So we should thank our lucky stars that Paul Greengrass decided to make one, starring Tom Hanks as a guy who travels the back towns of America post-Civil War. About 5 years later, he was in the Civil War, had his own problems there, but now is trying to do good by reading gossip and little news items and things for people. He's like a traveling CNN of the time, basically there, and giving people the news of the world, as it were, in America extremely divided by a devastating war, and still divided and not sure who to believe. What does that sound like? This actually turns out to be, like so many of Paul Greengrass's films, something for now. It resonates with what we're going through in America right now, believe it or not, through the prism of just that Civil War era, and it is something to see, no question about it. News of the World will have you talking, and it will have you wildly entertained. Great score by James Newton Howard, beautiful cinematography, on and on. This is filmmaking of the highest order, and I have it so high up here because I love classic Hollywood movie making. I love big movies that should be on the screen, and let's hope we get them back. This is one that would be that for sure. Number 2, News of the World. Number 1, here is my favorite film of 2020 for many reasons, but also I think a very important film, and one that reminds us also of who we were then and who we may be now. The Trial of the Chicago 7, from writer-director Aaron Sorkin. It has taken about 13-14 years to finally get to the screen, and it finally has. It recounts the raucous trial that took place in Chicago, putting on trial this group of men here who are accused of upsetting and basically breaking the law at the Democratic Convention of 1968. Chaos in the streets there. They were being blamed as instigators there, and this is their trial. And it is a circus, to be sure. What an ensemble cast, from the judge, who is played by Frank Langella, to Tom Hayden, played by Eddie Redmayne, to Abby Hoffman, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, to Jerry Rubin, played by Jeremy Strong, and Bobby Seale by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, to a whole host of great actors, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Mark Rylance. I could go on with this extraordinary cast here, and bringing this back to life, and really a brilliant script here. And the final scene in this, the final scene in the courtroom, will have you standing up and cheering, and I'm not saying that as a cliche, that's what I was doing. It is the movie moment of the year in what is, for me, the movie of 2020, one that is long overdue in finally getting to the screen, one well worth it, and showing Aaron Sorkin as a master, not only a master screenwriter, but now a director with his second directorial achievement. The Trial of the Chicago 7, it's about us right now, and that's a lot to think about. That's it, my top 10 for 2020. Let's hope 2021 brings us many great films and much better times. See you next year.